And we are live, which is great. It's another Wow Ergonomics.
Bit of hip hop to start the day.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing my hoodie.
Yeah.
In it. Thanks to Andy. This is unconventional.
Ah, one of Andy Barden's.
Yeah, let's have a little look at the back. There you are. Just shaped as an office chair.
Yeah.
Unconventional.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice, looking good. Looking good.
There you are. A little bit free advertising for you there, Andy.
Yeah.
Just get that in. I'll stop that. There we go. So back with yet another week of Wow Ergonomics.
We are.
And
we are.
I said that today I wanted to discuss. Did you read the feed for today? No. There we go. Oh, hang on. I just got to have a look.
On the wrist. Slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I was just making sure that people are coming in. Right. So what did I put? If you've watched, if you've followed this on LinkedIn and you've followed the notifications of this, which Stephen hasn't, I'm just going to tell you what I said today.
Right. Okay.
We are going to discuss the topic of everyday ergonomics and design, from Easter eggs to bins and bottles.
Okay.
Why is design so often not functional? That's what I thought we'd start with today.
As good as anything.
Yeah. Here's the first thing. A lot of Easter eggs have been recalled this year. I've noticed that. I've had to take several Easter eggs back because of salmonella or food poisoning or whatever issues.
I've just read that it was at a production site in Belgium, wasn't it? And was it? I've 60 kids apparently in the UK had come down with salmonella, and they traced it all back to that. But it obviously has a knock-on effect beyond the little Kinder eggs back to all the Easter eggs as well. Yeah,
really bad. But there you go. It could have just been that they ate too many eggs. I don't know. I reckon there'll be loads of kids being sick after the mass consumption of Easter eggs. But in terms of everyday ergonomics, we haven't really spoken about this. Not in terms of the kind of products you sell necessarily, which are obviously specialists in their field, or ergonomic seating or anything like that. Generally, do you think that a lot of companies just get it wrong in terms of ergonomic design when it comes to products?
I think so. It's interesting you mentioned. Did you say bins at the start, Graham? There.
Yeah, bins. I mean, the reason I thought of bins was because I was looking out the window at the time when I wrote that, and I was thinking, do you know what? Because we're at the end of our terrace.
Okay.
Right, and we all have to put our bins out at the end of the other end of the terrace.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, the far end of the terrace, which is the bit near the road, because it's a closed private road.
Yeah.
And some of the bins, getting them from here to there, are okay. All right, because they're fairly well designed. They've got a fairly good cantilevered tipping point, and they've got big enough wheels. Some of it is ridiculous. I mean, the food waste bin, the big food waste bin that you empty the little caddy into is awful. If that's full, that's quite a trek, and it's really quite difficult to carry. They put this enormous handle on it.
Okay.
Right, which has to clip into it to hold it shut. But and the whole thing, if it's got weight, just does this kind of swinging cantilevered motion all the way down. And I just thought that is really bad ergonomic design. Surely, actually, they should put a couple of little wheels on that if they're going to have this big handle, so you could tilt it at an angle and just drag it.
I mean, I think the thing with sort of recycling and waste is it still varies. If you look at across the UK as to what people have, isn't it, in terms of what type of bin do they get?
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. What can they recycle? It seems to vary, and the frequency of collection, etc. I mean, for me, the sort of change we would need is that we sort of try to get quite engaged with the recycling. So we have a smaller bin that we bought ourselves near the normal bin in the house. That gets all the recycling, and when that's full, someone takes it out the front and then almost decants it into the big bin. But what we find, and if you look around the street, is and it may be just where we are, but people are really engaged with plastic and paper recycling. And actually, every other week, collecting the paper and plastic recycling isn't actually enough, because it's, you know, you look down the street and it's piled up extra stuff, blows down the street, etc. So the whole thing for me sort of needs addressed, that actually, do we need to change the provision of what people get? You know, do we, if we're really going to buy into, and you really want to encourage recycling, you need to provide probably more appropriate wheelie bins, because it's, you know,
Totally agree.
if yours is totally full, are people going to go, I'll just push it down the side, or do they go, forget that, I'll lift up the regular bin and I'll just chuck it in? So are we losing out on opportunity to recycle because we need to actually provide people with more, you know? And if more packaging is coming recyclable, you need to have a greater provision, don't you? So I think the whole thing needs looked at.
Totally agree. What have you got for plastic? We've got one of those kind of weird, thick type of Hessian type blue sacks with like a weight in the bottom.
Right.
That you just shove stuff in. It's nowhere near big enough.
No, we have, so we get 3 bins. So you've got your garden waste that you have to pay for, and that's collected every other week. You've got your standard black bag wheelie bin that's picked up every week, and then the alternative to the garden waste is in effect a wheelie bin that has a black insert that drops inside. So you put your paper and your cardboard in the insert, and then sort of it leaves a gap down the side, and that's where you put all your tin cans and plastic bottles, etc. And obviously as time goes on, that just comes up and up and up and up and sort of comes up the side. So that's what we get, but it's nowhere near enough for cardboard. It's just far too much.
See what a variance we have. We have a black recycling crate for now. That's now for cardboard and paper. That's probably about 800 by hence deep, yeah. And then we've got a green one of those for bottles. Okay. I have to say, in our house, because we don't drink huge amounts, the bottle one is overly big. It's too big for us. Some of the neighbours, it's not big enough.
Yeah.
But then
is that because they have to live next door to you?
But then they could, exactly. But then they could always borrow some of ours. But the black one for the cardboard and the paper is nowhere near big enough. Nowhere near big enough. And especially on special occasions. So I'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And then we have this blue one for the plastic, which I have to say, since we've had that, has meant that the 2 big black bins that we have, because we have 2 big bins, right? Because we're a big family. It means that there's now plenty of room in those, even though they're only collecting 3 weeks of those. Oh, that's the other thing. We only get the big bins done every 3 weeks now.
So the old traditional black bags that you put by the side of the pavement, now in the black or grey bin, wheelie bin, they only come every 3 weeks.
3 weeks for that, So the waste product that's not recycled, that's every 3 weeks. But but then all the plastic goes in this other thing, but it's nowhere near big enough because there's still a huge amount of plastic. You know? But so a couple of things there. One is, because we were discussing this morning, me and the wife, are we going to see less people recycle that plastic stuff?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, because she made a very good point this morning. She said, but the thing is, to recycle the plastic, you've got to clean it out. So you got to take it to the sink and you got to wash it. Except you can't leave food waste on it, right? And good morning, Christina. So we've got all the C's in today already. Oh, I know. Yeah, absolutely. So, but she made a good point, which is that, with the extra cost of, fuel and heat and everything else, are less people actually going to bother to clean stuff, because it doesn't actually cost you anything to put something in your waste.
Yeah.
But it does cost you to actually clean it, to put it in the right recycler. That's a good point. Well made. But also, what about special times of year? So we've got Easter coming up.
Yeah.
Right. We all know at Easter, there is going to be a huge amount of more cardboard.
Yes.
Hi, Andrew. Nice to see you too.
Hi, Andrew.
So more cardboard,
plastic,
and foil, right? But, and the same is always the same at Christmas. we always see loads of additional bin liners down there at Christmas time. Why don't they, if they're collecting for the street or whatever, why don't they put an additional unit down leave it the week before at the end of the street that people can walk down and put their recycling in?
Yeah.
Why don't they do it? Cost.
Because local councils aren't usually very good and don't think about these sort of things.
Well, I think that they need to get their but this is the thing, isn't it? On the one, absolutely. On the one hand, it's like we need to see you doing better recycling. Wouldn't it be better if we met these recycling targets? You go down the dump. I don't know whether you call it dump. You go down your local recycling centre. Yeah, we still call it the dump.
Yeah, I call it the dump.
Right, you go down your local recycling centre, and there's always a board up there now which says your local recycling centre last month recycled 86.5%. Yeah, well, we'd get it to 100%, or we'd get nearer to it if you actually gave us the facilities to do it.
Now, we also still, when COVID was sort of in sort of full force, we had to start booking to go to the local dump stroke recycling centre. Now, they've still carried on with that. Have they carried on that with you, nearly by yourself? Do you have to actually make an appointment to go, as opposed, pre sort of March 2020, you could just rock up, couldn't you, and take your waste? But now they're still having the fact you've got to actually book in. And again, you think, does that put people off? Do they just think, I'll just hoy it in the black bin? And
no, we can just turn up now. But I wish actually you did have to book or get a ticket or something like that, because I tell you what, the last couple of times I've gone down there, I've had to queue for ages. Yeah. Right. Actually, it'd be really good, especially one of the things I've been thinking about is when you go down the recycling centre. Especially when it's on like a match day or whatever, they could just have a big TV up and just broadcast it, couldn't they?
I was just reading to the comments to the right hand side. I misread Chris Barlow's second comment where he said after 8 Easter egg for me, and I thought he meant after 8 Easter eggs. I thought he'd actually had 8 Easter eggs as opposed to
well, I wondered that, or was it 8 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Or 8 o'clock in the morning. When's too early to start on the Easter eggs on Easter Day?
I don't think you can. I think literally the moment your eyes open, I think it's pretty much game on, isn't it, from there? So yeah. straight there. Oh, we've got to welcome our guest today. Nice to meet you, Daniel. Hello, thanks for joining us, Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, nice to meet you both.
He nice wonders, having sat there watching that, what on earth he's joined in with. There you go.
I am very much aligned with the perspective of from the moment your eyes open, you can start munching on the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
What in terms of what we were talking about, in terms of recycling bins, etc. I mean, do you feel that recycling bins are not big enough? Actually, there's times a year where there's just not enough capacity in what you get given in order to recycle what you should.
Completely agree. And it's so it's funny, having recently moved to a new apartment, our building didn't have recycling bins. So just the process of getting them from the council, you would think it's like, you pick up the phone, you call someone, and within, say, a week, right, they'd be there. It's now come up to about 3 months. They still haven't got through. And, you want to do something good, right? You're opting in to do something good. And eventually you say to yourself, what's the point? I'm spending so much of my time and effort to try and do good. Should be easy, right? It should be the next day they show up, but no. So haven't been recycling for about 3 months now.
I would love to get a local councillor on this show to discuss this sometime. That'd be amazing, because it's rubbish. It is. It's absolutely rubbish. And yet, I'll tell you what, they're quick enough at doing is digging up roads. Oh my! Don't come through Chard at the moment, by the way, Stephen, because everything's been dug up.
Oh, really?
Absolutely everything. Yeah. What is it about some councils and some places? They just feel the need to dig everything up all at once. I mean, even that doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're going to dig parts of a small town up, do it in sections, right? Don't suddenly dig up everywhere. So there's no route that you can take from one end of the town to the other without going past people, it's utterly ridiculous.
And actually, we're saying about getting a local councillor on to discuss rubbish. You'd love to get the local planning team on to discuss how do they work these things out. I often think they seem to sort of focus around school holidays. So as soon as the schools are off, it's like, right, let's just dig up everything, and it just causes carnage for a certain period of time, doesn't it?
No, we've had it for weeks and weeks and weeks now. Yeah, it's all part of improving child, and I'm sure it will. Basically, we're having bigger pavements. Because bigger pavements improve somewhere drastically. Yeah.
It's not an accessibility thing, is it, Graham? Is it not that your pavements were too narrow for wheelchairs or pushchairs?
That would be lovely, but no, I think it's to make room for trees. I did hear that actually down one of the roads, it ended up costing them an extra. And I can't say that this is absolutely true. So this is apparently costing them an extra 100, or us as taxpayers, an extra £150,000.
Wow!
Right, because they were putting a tree in, but what they didn't realise was that the tree was in the way of a water main. So they ended up having to get the water company in to reroute the water main in order to put the tree in. So I don't want the extra tree. Sorry.
There's two like amazing. There's an amazing map. I can't remember, but it was a comparison of London to Paris, and they took a map of London and they put a red dot where there were at that point in time roadworks going on, and they did the same for Paris, and they zoomed out, like a bird's eye view. Paris, you could count the number of dots on two hands.
Yeah.
And London, the whole city basically was just one red dot, because when you zoom out, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And they said it's something to do with the fact, I remember this, it's to do with the fact that when you contract to the council themselves have the budget to do the roadwork, and they have a budget allocated, and basically they don't use the budget. What happens is next year they look back and they say, well, last year you only spent 50 grand on roadwork, you had 100 grand, so we're only going to give you 50 grand. So what they do is they say, well, if I've got 100 grand for roadworks, I need to use the full 100 grand, because that way they ensure the following year they'll get given the extra another 100
use it or lose it, as it used to be with the public sector. Yeah.
So you've got to invent, holes in the road.
Just dig a hole and then we'll fill it back up.
Jobs for the boys.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that over there. There's a slight dent. Quick, dig it out. Fill it with something. Get 6 men on that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anyway, Daniel, we're here. Let's discuss what it is that you do, sir.
So I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. So what I do, I'm sort of a founder of a startup called OSU, OSU. And what OSU is, it's basically just a mobile app for the self-employed. And it's an app that in one place they can run their business. Take any, think of any self-employed professional, whether that's a driving instructor, a therapist, mobile hairdresser, or even like a personal trainer, and of course, man with a van doing, works around home. If you boil down to all the different things they need to do, so it's, you need to get paid, they need to do scheduling, they need to issue invoices, they've got to keep track of their expenses, they've got to coordinate with their clients and their customers. And there's lots of tools in the market for all of those things. So, if you're an enterprise, you could spend hundreds of pounds a month on some beautiful CRM to manage all your customer relationships. You can pay hundreds of pounds for fantastic ERP accounting software, and again, dedicated for that specific, say, function. But, if you're a one-person band, you can't spend hundreds of pounds on lots of different softwares, and you don't have the time to deal with it all. And usually these are very complicated, overwhelming tools that, again, that have a team dedicated just to this one area of the business. And when you're wearing, say, all the hats of the business, you are at once your own finance person, IT person, sales person, marketing person, customer success person, you're all of those things in one. You need a simple all-in-one kind of solution that's built for you. And that's what Osu is. So it's one app where in one place you can manage your schedule, collect payments, issue invoices, track your expenses, and all of those other things. And it's done in a way that everything's reduced to as few clicks as possible. So you're not, spending hours of your time on it. So essentially, we're all about helping the self-employed thrive, helping them get paid. And yeah, 2 years into the journey of startup life, it's got its ups and downs, a real roller coaster, but it definitely, I think, beats, at least for me, being a part of a large corporate where, there's lots of pros to that as well. But when you're kind of in charge of your own destiny, it's a lot of fun.
Well, we're all sitting, completely intrigued now. Do you want to share screen very quickly and just show us a little bit of it? Can you do that?
I can do. I would just see.
He's got the technology.
Yeah.
So
He's got that app sharing solution.
Can I choose?
I don't know about you, Stephen. I love a good app.
There
Absolutely.
we are.
Yeah. I can share that.
Great.
Look at that. We'll sit over here for a minute.
There you
wow.
go.
Okay.
So bottom left corner, that's if I can just say move this thing up there. So
Okay.
This is the Osu app. This is sort of a very simple, easy to view home screen where I can see my upcoming schedule. So I've set up this app for sort of demo purposes as if I was a personal trainer. So I've got, my upcoming schedule. I can see who I'm meeting and what session I have. I can see my finances for, the week, the month, or the year. And of course, there's the key actions I would want to perform as a personal trainer. Of course, I want to, add a booking. So from the app, I can simply tap add booking, call it, one-on-one training session. I'll even do that 1-to-1 training session. Choose the client. I will find my client, my fictitious client. Where is it? Dave Smith. I'll do the session on make it up. The 19th.
I wonder if all the Dave Smiths out there get frustrated that they're generally the person who's picked as the fictitious name. Dave, yeah.
So the 19th of May, 9 till 10, I will make sure that there's a reminder sent, I'll say 24 hours beforehand, and that's it. I've now scheduled a training session with Dave for that date, and one day before he'll get an automatic reminder. There's no need for me now as a personal trainer to kind of keep a note somewhere to remember to call him one day before. There's of course, I want to get paid, and this is probably the best part of, or the easiest part of the app, which I want to request a payment. Now, it's really important to remember that a lot of sole traders would love to, and if they are, accept card payments, carry around some kind of plastic card reader. Every time you need to get paid, consumer takes out their card and taps their card on the machine. And as a consumer, you think, brilliant, that was so easy. It took me 2 seconds. But unfortunately for a sole trader, self-employed person, every time you accept a card payment, you actually pay a fee of 1.5% to 2%. So you're giving up, 2% of your income every time a client pays you by card. You're also waiting 2, 3, sometimes even 7 days before you receive the money, which, doesn't sound like a lot, but let's say you had a really big job that, coming into your bank account in 7 days, but you've got major expenses going out in 3 days, and then you're finding yourself in a bit of a tricky cash flow situation. So there's a lot of challenges around accepting card payments. And what we did was we built a way for a sole trader, a self-employed person to get paid. It's instant and there's 0 transaction fees. So how it works, it's really simple. You tap request payment, you select the client. So the client here is, where is it? Dave Smith.
There's our Dave.
I will request a payment. I'll make it up in this instance for, a 1-hour training session of £35. I will add a discount of, £10 off, loyalty discount. So it comes to a total of £25, and that's it. I've requested the payment. Now, in the background, this is really cool, but for a self-employed person, you no longer need to deal with invoicing. Simply by requesting that payment, an automatic professional invoice was generated in the background. So all your invoicing is now taken care of. So, at the end of the year, when you need to do your self-assessment, you have all your invoices already prepared, generated, they're ready for you. And of course, Dave will have received a copy of that invoice. I'll show you what does Dave see. Dave needs to pay. So Dave receives a text message just like the one at the bottom. I use OSU to take payment. Click the link, pick your bank and confirm. Dave clicks on the link and this opens a summary of the payment. He sees that he needs to pay DS personal training services, £25. There's a £10, which includes the £10 off loyalty discount, and he needs to pay. How's he going to pay? He chooses his bank, and automatically his bank app is open for him. He doesn't need to manually do anything there. He taps continue, and
so it just taps into the part of your banking app that allows you to set up a
correct
debit for. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Correct. And if I just complete this,
that's good, isn't it?
And that is it. And you'll see us in a second. The payment is completed, and that's it. So Dave now can see he can choose to have a receipt emailed to himself. He can view a copy of the invoice. He can save that invoice. And I'll just show you what about me, Daniel Scott, the personal trainer. As you see, I just got a push notification that £25 was received. That money is already in my bank account. So I have been paid instantly by Dave. There's no transaction fees involved. The invoicing was taken care of automatically without a second of thought. I think the one other super cool thing to show is the scheduling. So of course, I can do a very classic, create an invite. But I think what's most unique is I can actually, from this app, take a public booking link. So I can basically, and it comes included with the app. I take this link, and this link I could share with any of my clients. And let's say I'm a personal trainer, I have 50 clients. I'll send all the clients this link. I'll say, from now on, if you want to book a training session with me, just go to this link. When someone clicks on the link, this is what they see. They see a booking website for Daniel Scott's personal training business. They can choose the session. So they'll choose a half session on the 20th at 11 a.m. They enter their phone number.
And so does this work like some of the other calendar-based solutions so that it knows which days you're available, etc.?
Precisely. Exactly. Right. And that's it. It's all been submitted. Wow. What's different to the other tools like Calendly is that Calendly, when I were to try and book something, say in your calendar with Calendly, if it's available and I choose it, it's booked. It's 100% confirmed. And we know a lot of sole traders and self-employed people don't want the automatic confirmation. They want that final step of, maybe I want to check first. So you'll see that actually, as a Daniel Scott personal trainer, I get a notification that Dave wants to book a training session on this day, this time, and I actually get to be the one with the final confirmation. So I'm going to confirm that, and that's now booked. So again, in one place, a sole trader can take care of their payment, take care of their invoicing. The payments are instant with zero fees. Their scheduling's there. There's a CRM. So I'll show you here. You see a CRM where all my clients are. I can see that Dave currently owes me £100.50. I can contact him from here, see the recent activity, see my upcoming appointment with Dave. I can even take notes. So as you see, yesterday, Dave had a bad ankle. So next time I meet with him, I might want to be aware of that. So essentially in one place, we are trying to give sole traders sort of everything they need without having to resort to all the different tools and all the complexities of, payments are here and invoices are there and my schedule's in another calendar and I keep my notes on pen and paper. What we try to do is kind of give you everything you need in one place.
That's really good. Wow. Can I just ask, in terms of the invoices, once the invoices are generated, can those obviously then be exported out and put into an accounting software?
Correct. Exactly. So from the app, there is in the settings a place where you can sort of connect to your accountant. You put in your accountant's email address and firm name, and then all your data will automatically be shared with your accountant, including all the invoices.
Okay, yeah, but what about from a self-assessment point of view, in terms of if you want to use something like QuickBooks or Sage to actually do your end-of-year accounts?
Yeah. So from within the app, you can export everything to a CSV or Excel file. So you'll have, from the app, you can download everything. You'll have an Excel with all the income, all the expenses, all the sort of invoice PDF files, and then, very easily upload that to Xero or QuickBooks or Sage or whichever software you're using.
Well, there you go.
That's brilliant.
There you go.
That's a bit of a game changer for some people.
Yeah. Daniel, what's the biggest challenge that sole traders have? And obviously there's loads of facets to the app there, but is it actually cold hard cash? Is it in terms of getting the money in? Is that where sole traders find they have the biggest challenge?
I think conscious of the audience who could be listening, but I think a lot of times people go into business because they followed a passion, or they followed, say, a craft or profession that they've been trained in, and oftentimes whether your passion is something that started as, say, like a side project that you became passionate about and wanted to turn full time, or if it's something you studied in, say, a technical college or university, and it won't be, I think, so surprising. A lot of these courses in universities, and of course, if you do it as a passion project, you may be an excellent plumber or a fantastic electrician or brilliant at looking after someone's nails, but you may not be a brilliant business person. Okay. And being excellent, say, at manicuring someone's nails or fixing a sink doesn't necessarily mean you're excellent at business. And business is, so this app, the challenge isn't, the app isn't saying how to be good at teaching people to drive. It's not saying here's the best way to fix, a leaking sink, but it is trying to help in terms of making the business admin simple or easier. And I think what a lot of people find a challenge is this admin or business admin side of the equation. It's not to say that people are bad at it. It's just I don't think people especially enjoy it. I don't think people pursue self-employment because they love the thought of dealing with invoicing, or they love the thought of tracking their expenses, or they love the thought of chasing clients to pay. But I think when you go down the path of self-employment, for better or worse, that is always going to be a part of it. And I think what we found is that's the challenge. The challenge is that people are brilliant at things, and these are good, honest, hardworking people. Generally, to pursue self-employment is not for the faint-hearted, right? You have to be tough and driven and passionate about whatever it is you do, or committed to some degree of success. I think the challenge is the admin can kind of get in the way, and I think when these businesses fail, especially self-employed businesses and sole traders, it's not because they're bad at their profession. It's not because they're bad at the craft that they pursue. It's just that admin becomes overwhelming, and you lose track of your first invoice, your second invoice, and if you're losing track of 10 invoices, 15 invoices, 20 invoices, and you're owed thousands of pounds for outstanding payments, and you've got your mortgage and you've got your bills and petrol prices are skyrocketing, that's when you hit trouble. And it's again not because you're bad at what you do, it's because that just investment required and the time it takes to be on top of, say, business management is something that people are, they underestimate, especially, of course, if you're, say, younger in this whole self-employment thing, which is just the excitement of, I'm going to be my own boss now, I'm going to make my own money, I'm not beholden to a company anymore. It's very easy to kind of just run away with that and lose sight of kind of and it is dull and time-consuming administrative tasks. And I think that's what we try to solve.
I think that would be a really great app, actually, Stephen, for anyone that was just starting out doing ergonomic assessments.
Oh, I think so, because of the pure nature of what they do is very much around seeing multiple people diary organization, getting payments in. So as you say, I think for the assessment community out there who we know and engage with, I think it would be a perfect app for them. As you say, they're generally traveling around multiple locations every day. The fact they could almost go and do an assessment and maybe just update themselves as soon as they come out, or maybe after 2, or maybe at the end of the day. But that would be a really, really useful bit of kit for that sector, I think. So I'm interested, Graham, with you being sort of self-employed, does what are your sort of initial thoughts on seeing the app? What sort of stands out for you?
No, I like it. I don't actually have that problem because I'm quite good at systems. So I just everything for me is pretty much automated. And I love the fact that you're able to tap into the bank thing, so that actually you're getting those automated payments, but without a fee in there. But yeah, I mean, typically most of my clients pay up front, invoices go out on a regular date, I have software that tracks that as well, so once it's gone, I don't have to remember about it. It will nudge. I think anything like that is really, really, really valid. I was thinking of my sister actually when you showed me that, Daniel, because she's a sports massage therapist, and I've been trying to get her desperately to get off of a book-based system for ages and ages and ages. I mean, the one thing that would be really interesting there, and I don't know whether you can do it, but one of the things that she struggles with, and I'm sure a lot of the people that would perhaps use that app would struggle with as well, is when people don't turn up for a session. So would there be a way maybe for the future in that where maybe you could actually take sort of like a tiny deposit from someone, and that could get carried over or something like that?
We already have that. So the good news is we already have that.
There you go.
So
Boom.
one of the things we heard of is exactly that, which is people saying that a big pain point is last minute cancellations and no shows. And if there was a way that people would be required to either pay in full as part of the booking, or be required to pay some kind of deposit as part of a booking, that would be, game changing. So we added it, we built it. So now when you set up the booking website feature, it's optional, right? Not everyone wants it, but for those that want, they can actually add a payment link as part of the booking. So when someone comes along and says, I want to book a sports massage on I'm making it up, 25th of April at 10 a.m., they'll select the 25th of April, they select 10 a.m., they put their name and phone number, and then it says, okay, great, but now in order to kind of reserve the slot, you need to pay, whether it's £10, £20, it's up to the business owner to decide, but they have to pay. And only after they pay do they get the kind of great, fantastic, so-and-so will be in touch to confirm. So we built it for that reason.
Right.
I mean, that's really important, isn't it? Because for the sole trade of the self-employed, a no-show is simply a loss of income to them, isn't it? If you're working for a larger organization, you can make it up, or there's some other part of the business can swallow up that loss. But if you've got people, like you're saying, if a personal trainer, or whether you're a gas engineer or something, if someone's not in when you knock the door or doesn't turn up, that money's lost. So that ability to sort of almost request an element of the money up front is really, really important. And I think it just then gets that increased commitment from the person who's booking the service to actually make sure, do you know what, if I don't go and see them, I'm still got to pay 50%. So I'm really, really going to make sure. Where if they haven't got that, they sometimes think, well, whatever. You know what I mean? It sort of focuses the mind a little bit more, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is that it can always be done so that that money carries over for another booking.
Correct.
Yeah, so it might the client isn't necessarily going to lose out on that money.
No,
it just means that you've got some of their money prior to the booking actually happening, and if they don't actually turn up, you've still got their money. It means that they've then got to make that next booking.
Yep. And one of the things you guys touched upon, and I do it myself a lot, is I use the term self-employed because that's the common term to use. And I think the term self-employed is actually a bad one because it implies that you're employed. Just I know there's the self part, but there's this sense of like you're not employed, that you are not an employee anymore. And the way the mindset shift isn't, I was employed by a company and now I'm employed by myself. You're not employed by anyone.
No, you're self-funded.
Correct. You are the owner, operator of your business, and everything is on your head and on your neck and on your shoulders, right? That's, I think, for a lot of people, a very, very huge shift in mindset. If you go from working in a business as an employee to owning and running a business, you're not self-employed. You could be the director of a company and have employees, but you're still not self-employed. You are the owner, operator of a business. And that shift in mindset, which is, why a no-show is so painful. It's not like on a Friday night, you close the computer, you leave the office. In a large organization, the business will still be there on Monday. Short of catastrophe, the business will still be there Monday. But when you are self-employed one-man band and you've got, mortgages coming up in the middle of the month, say, and you've got a really big job plan that weekend and they just cancel at the last possible second, that's huge, right? That's can mean the end of your business in, what one person's inconvenient sort of 2-minute phone call where they kind of awkwardly try to cancel or delay by a few months because something's come up. That's alarm bells ringing, that's panic, that's how am I going to, pay my bills on time this month? And that's this sort of, I don't want to scare people who are thinking of self-employment.
Yeah.
But I think that's I'm talking about like the challenges of it and why, seemingly inconvenient things like a no-show or cancellation that's somewhat innocuous, how big of an impact it can have. That's the mindset I think people should have when in self-employment or considering it. It's that, it's a world apart from the innocuous term self-employed seem to suggest. You really are not employed in any way, shape, or form of that word.
No, that's very true. Daniel, before you escape, we need you to use your phone one more time. Today, I thought we'd do something slightly different.
Okay.
So what we're going to do today is, if you could go on your phone, Daniel, to vivox.app in your browser.
I will do.
Being a technical guy, you should be able to cope with this. If you're watching, you can do the same. Vivox.app. Yes, clients do need to be respectful and live up to their commitments. Absolutely. Right. If you put in the ID number, all of you watching at home as well, 143-204-564. Another week. This is a bit of a sort of a test run, Steve, because I thought what we ought to do is maybe try one of this in a webinar sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, now I must say this, Graham. After last week's, one of the questions we had, and the answer was wet leg. Right? Yeah. I've heard that record, chaise long, about 5 times. I'd never heard it until you mentioned it. Ever since then, I hear it every time I go in the car. So, yeah,
there you go.
Wet leg.
Wet leg. If we're talking about music, I just want to say thank you, by the way, to L&L. There you are. He sent me some albums this morning, and also a plectrum as well. Thank you very much.
Nice, very nice.
I shall try using that later. I've never really got on with plectrums, but I will try. So what we're going to do today, rather than a quiz, I'm actually going to do a poll. I just want to see, right, whether people, including you, Daniel, have actually had a workplace assessment at home, and I want to see how good your ergonomics are. So here we go. Here's our little polly.
Okay.
Right. So first question is, have you had a workplace assessment, / ergonomic assessment of your current workstation? And the answer to that is 66.67% said no. My goodness. So that's quite scary, isn't it?
Mm.
All right. Next question. Who in your organisation is responsible for workplace assessments? Human resources, health and safety, me, another manager, nobody. Nobody. There we go. There's no correct answers, by the way.
No. Interesting,
no, this is just an interesting, just interesting statistics. We're going to have a look at we'll look at the answers maybe another week. Next poll: which of these would you say describes how you work? Are you work from home, hybrid, work from office, fully remote, or other? If people don't know what the term hybrid means, well,
what have we been doing for the last 2 years?
What have we been doing? So hybrid means that you work between the office and working from home. Or you might even use additional resources like coffee shops. Work from home. A lot of people working hybrid. There we go.
McDonald's, Graham, are we allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Of that, so.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. Have you had any new equipment to help with the ergonomics of your work environment over the past 2 years? Yes. Good.
That's what we like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any kind of back condition or musculoskeletal injury that impacts you at work? And one last person. Well, we'll just stop that there anyway. And I think, next one. How much do you think a proper workplace assessment should cost? Now, here you are. This is one for Daniel. This is interesting. 200. Oh, out.
Oh, well, someone's changed.
Yeah. So somewhere between 100 and 200 pounds. Yeah, okay. So maybe somewhere in the middle there. And have you been given advice on taking breaks by your organisation? Oh, someone said no. Very, very interesting. I think this would be good with a large audience, don't you?
I think so. I think if we ever had an event that had sort of 50 to 100 people to really get a real snapshot. Yeah.
Which of these do you have? Laptop accessories, specialist office chair, or sit-stand desk, or similar? Just to give us a. Ooh, interesting. There you go. But most people have laptop accessories, and sit-stand desk not quite so popular. Okay, no. There you are. I'm going to close that. There you go. Thank you very much for taking part, everybody. That was just a little snapshot today.
Yeah, it's really interesting. As you say, it'd be great to get that in a wider audience, wouldn't it? When we're doing one of our other events, just to, it doesn't take very long, but I think you get some really interesting sort of insight into all of that.
Daniel, I just have to ask, what did you answer in terms of workplace assessment? Have you had a workplace assessment?
Nope.
No. Never.
And
yet, you see, it is actually a requirement. Are you working for yourself?
We're a team of 12, of whom 5 are in London.
Right. So legally, that should happen. Did you know that?
So my question to you guys then is, we work out of a kind of a WeWork type building. So is it our obligation, or is it the WeWork who run the site obligation?
It's your obligation. Yeah, and that's why we bring it up. It's so interesting. But actually, if someone's facilitating you in terms of the environment, then obviously you need to make sure that the right provisions are provided within that environment. But in terms of the health and well-being of your people, that's your responsibility wherever they work. So it doesn't matter whether someone works funnily enough, in McDonald's all the time. If they're working for you, they are within your auspice. They're your responsibility. And that's why it's important to do those assessments, because what those assessments are doing is they're understanding whether those people have got the right provisions for wherever it is that they're working. It might be that it For example, it makes sure that they don't necessarily have a condition when they first start with you, right? I mean, let's take the example of eyesight. I think this is a really good one.
Yeah.
With regards to DSE, okay. When someone starts with you, working for you, how many employers actually bother to do an eyesight test with that member of staff, or get them to make sure they have an eyesight test and find out where they are at that moment in time with their eyes, right? Because what we know is that working with computers day in, day out can have an effect on your eyesight. Yeah. But it might be that your eyesight was already shot.
Yeah.
I'll put it like that. Might be that your eyes were already affected. Might be that you already had to wear glasses. Might be that you already had migraines because of, working with computers prior to starting that job. Now, if you don't do that baseline with them when they're first inducted, you don't know where that starting point is. It then, if 2 years down the line, they suddenly go, well, do you know what? Since I've been working here, I've got this problem with me. I've got that problem. I've got this. It's all since I've been working here. You don't know, do you?
No, because you've got no reference point.
You haven't got any reference point. You haven't taken that baseline point of going, where were you when you first joined this business? So that is why the recommendation is that what you do is you something like once a year, do a workplace assessment with people, find out where the base point is when they first join the company, do your assessment, find out where the base point is, find out if they've got any pre-existing conditions that may impact upon them, put into place the adjustments then, and then just keep looking at that on a year by year basis. That way you will never lose, right? Because ultimately someone cannot turn around and say to you, this happened since I worked here, if it was pre-existing. There, good advice.
Yeah,
you could build it into your app as advice for on top of any kind of advice for anybody working for themselves. If you're working for yourself, obviously it's your own responsibility. But as soon as you've got a little team, then it's really, really important. Once you become responsible for other people, it's really, really important. Yeah, absolutely. Lighting is important. Thanks for that, Susan.
And air quality, she's mentioned as well on the next comment.
And air quality, which we spoke about last week with David.
Yeah, we did.
And lighting, that's a good one to bring up.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. Well, we've got a new product that we are bringing out back at Elkhausen, so called Energy by Light. So that's being released imminently, and we've got a webinar which you're joining us on, Graham, on the 11th of May. So we'll be having the designer Stephen Edwards and John Van Hooft, who's back at Elkhausen's CEO, will be talking about our new product, and it's all around tying your desk light or the light in which you work in with your sort of natural circadian rhythm. So the light adjusts throughout the day to mimic the sun. It's about producing and giving you extra energy throughout the day. So we've got that webinar coming up. I think we'll probably talk about that product a little bit more, Graham, in the coming weeks. But yeah, it's a really interesting one. We're really excited about this product, and we're already having huge interest in it. So it'll be a good one.
Daniel, before you leave, is this app, is it available to download now?
It is.
Is there a cost to the app?
So there isn't to begin with. So basically, we have a free version of the app where you can use it every month to accept up to £1,000 worth of payments, and there's no cost at all. So all the features are there. It's just only that, once you want to accept over £1,000 worth of payments from your customers, then you'll need to opt in to one of the paid plans, which start at £10 a month. Most of our users, if they convert to a paid plan, they go to the £10 a month one, where you have a limit of about £7,000 a month of kind of payment that you're collecting.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, really good.
That's very, very cool. Or maybe you should have a free for life version that's got sponsorship from an ergonomics company. I'm just saying.
We can have that conversation. We can.
there you go. Well, I'm just thinking about that. All of that home working market. What a great market.
Absolutely.
There could be a really good combination there. If someone wanted to sponsor that would be fantastic. In response to getting some ads every now and again about ergonomic products. That would be good. Cool. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you guys very much. Have a
Thanks,
great day.
Bye for now.
Enjoy the Easter weekend.
Yeah,
And you.
Cheers.
What an interesting guest.
Really interesting.
What an interesting app. Yeah.
So I did mean to say to him, and I know we'd got into the whole piece around terminology, didn't when we discussed it with Jodie Greer previously around accessibility and on those sort of things. Self-employed isn't the title to use. What is it? What sole trader? Because obviously the word employed is something that should be left out. So what should be people? One-man band?
I love the term solopreneur. I just think that's what
nice.
I think that's what it should be. You're a solopreneur. You're racking it up there. Happy Easter to you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Susan. It was. I thought it was very interesting talk today. You are a sole trader. I guess that does make sense.
Yeah.
But I think you are a solopreneur.
Solopreneur.
That it sounds good, doesn't it?
Will we find that in the Collins English Dictionary?
Solopreneur. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, entrepreneur, solopreneur. They're definitely in there as a thing. Self-employed isn't right, is it?
No. If you actually think about what the term itself means, it doesn't make any sense.
No. I guess it makes sense in terms of the HMRC.
Yes.
And that's where the term comes up, because you're employing yourself to work for yourself, and therefore you've got to pay you, and you've got to pay your tax as an employed person, employed by yourself. That's where it comes from, isn't it? That self-employed. It's a tax thing.
What if you sat yourself?
Well, I've tried so many times, but it just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
I just, why is it? Self-employed is correct in your eyes.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Well,
we're a broad church of opinions.
Yeah, I think the reason we were saying that maybe self-employed isn't quite right is because you are, it's not headspace wise. It's not like when you're employed and you don't have to think about all of these things because, unless you're, but then again, if you own a business, you have to think about everything, don't you?
Yeah.
If you're the CEO of a business, do you not think about, whether people are getting invoiced? You can blame someone if it doesn't happen, but ultimately you've got to blame yourself.
Yeah.
There's another whole conversation about leadership.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Leadership in business there. But if you've employed the wrong people below you to do all of those different parts of the business, who's ultimately responsible? You employed them. Yeah. You took those people on. If they're not performing,
you should have spoken to our friend Rory Berry with his new sales course that he's been pushing, isn't it? Which is it how to not stuff up your first 5 appointments? I think Rory's been talking like about that on LinkedIn, hasn't it?
Yeah,
hasn't he? I should say.
Absolutely. Now we won't be here next week, because of the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny has decided that we shouldn't do a show next week.
Absolutely.
So that the kiddies can have a great time. Don't eat too much chocolate. That includes you, Chris.
He's already started, hasn't he?
I think he's already on.
I think he's already started.
I think he's already there. The thing is, when you've got children, you can make these excuses.
Yeah.
I mean, both of us can do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. CEOs do need to keep in touch with all departments. Absolutely.
Tuesday the 26th, we're back, Graham. Tuesday the 26th.
Tuesday the 26th
noon.
Yep. Make sure you're back and with us then. If you want to catch up in the meantime as Chris has been doing recently on previous episodes, which you can listen to in the comfort of your car as you're traveling to and from one place to another. Mind you, if you're on holiday with the rest of the family, I'm not sure that this is the best entertainment. No. But if they've all fallen asleep, of course, then
get us on.
Get us on. Doesn't matter. You go to wowergonomics.com. You can listen to us there, or you can save it on your favourite app of choice. I think we're on Apple Music as well now. So there we go. Until next time, thanks for joining us. From me and Stephen, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Happy Easter.
Yeah, happy Easter, everyone.